Hello everyone, welcome to Elul High Holiday Highlights number 4. Tough to say. Today we are going to briefly discuss the various names for Rosh Hashanah. The Jewish New Year has a variety of names. Rosh Hashanah or Rosh Hashanah, using the specific Sephardic Hebrew, which means head or beginning of the year. But Rosh Hashanah is also referred to as Yom HaDin, Day of Judgment, Yom HaZikaron, Day of Remembrance, and Yom Tru'ah, the day of the sounding of the Shofar. If you remember, Tru'ah is the third of the 3 types of blasts we sound on Rosh Hashanah. Tekiah, Shvarim, Tru'ah. So Rosh Hashanah is referred to as Yom Tru'ah. Ironically, the only specific term referred to about Rosh Hashanah in the Torah is Yom Tru'ah, a reference to the Shofar. There is a hint at the idea of remembrance, Zikaron, but the Torah only refers to this day as Yom Tru'ah. Rosh Hashanah does not appear. We'll talk about that in a minute. The day is referred to as Yom HaDin because judgment is a special theme which runs throughout the service. Remembrance, Yom HaZikaron, is also a special theme. There are various points where the theme of remembering is prominent. For example, the Torah and the Haftorah texts. In the Torah, Sarah is remembered for a child. In the Haftorah, Hannah is remembered for a child. And in those days, the idea of a pregnancy and having children was so important. If you didn't have children, there was a stigma. So therefore, the idea of remembering Sarah, remembering Hannah was so important. But Israel, especially in the Haftorah for the second day, is remembered collectively. And in fact, in the Musaf service, we have a special section known as Zichronot, verses of remembrance, where we take different verses on the theme of remembering from various points of the Bible, and we include them in the liturgy. Rosh Hashanah is not mentioned anywhere in the Torah. In fact, it's a post-biblical name. It's a name that, in specific reference to the idea of a Jewish New Year, does not come till later on. In fact, if we look carefully at the Torah, many of you know, Rosh Hashanah, or what we call Rosh Hashanah, does not occur on the first or in the first Jewish month of the year, but actually the 7th month. It's mentioned that Rosh Hashanah, this special day, Yom Tru'ah, falls on the first day of the 7th month of the year, the month of Tishrei. In the Torah, the first month of the year was Nisan, because that was the month of the Exodus. However, over the course of time, the day that we know as Rosh Hashanah became identified as the universal birthday of the world, and therefore, even though in the Torah it is the first day of the 7th month, it became the beginning of the year. In the Mishnah, the Code of Jewish Law, which forms the first part of the Talmud, there is actually a reference to 4 Jewish New Years throughout the world. What we know as Rosh Hashanah on the 1st of Tishrei is associated with the birthday of the world. So we call this holiday Rosh Hashanah, but the term is a later insertion. What this calls attention to, I think, again, is how Judaism constantly evolves. Here we have one of the most important days the entire year, and even the name was a name that was introduced later on and became identified with this particular day. Judaism has always evolved. This is just one example, but it calls attention to the fact that we continue to change, we continue to come up with new discoveries, and that's something which is integral to Jewish tradition, and I think is one of the strengths of Judaism, that we can constantly change and add, and something that was not part of an original thought later on becomes identified as a major theme. And that's the case with Rosh Hashanah. Wish you Shana Tova, a very healthy and meaningful new year.